And that's one thing I want to really get out there. I don't think anyone takes joy other than you when you fire that guy.
I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, okay? I'm not saying I would do it now. He came in, and I was like, listen, man, I got to let you go. He's like, what's going on? I was like, man, it's not a good fit. It's not working out. I just think it's best for everybody if we can move on. And he just like kept asking, like, what did I do? What's going on? What is it? And finally, I was like, look, man, it's not business. It's personal. What's up? I'm Keith.
And I'm D, and welcome back to the Defiant Life Podcast. What we say, Keith? What we do?
We defy the laws of mediocrity.
Let's go. We don't want no mediocre. Shout out to T.I. Hey, come on the show, man. We know you're a young entrepreneur, a young bull. We like it all, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, how you feeling today, man?
I'm good.
Cool.
I'm good. That Celsius did me right today. So
this show is not sponsored by Celsius or Fahrenheit. We just have a lot of energy today. We're hopped up on life, and we got some
Mandarin marshmallow.
Mandarin marshmallow. I love alliterations.
I mean,
man, Mandarin marshmallow, marvelous,
magnificent.
Mixer.
What?
Elixir. Okay, I got one head in the back. All right, man. So I want to hop in and talk about another conversation that you and I kind of brushed on a little bit. So, Keith, I see you just closed on another mobile home park.
Yeah,
Let's
true.
go.
That is true.
Congratulations.
Yep. Very good. Very good.
All right. So, how's that process been going for you?
It's been stressful, actually.
Yeah.
You know why? Because I got away from some of the systems that I had been doing before. And it's kind of weird because I had 135 rentals, and then I sold last year. At the end of last year, sold all of them, and so I kind of had to start over. Yes, thank you for that too. Kind of had to start over, a little bit. So kind of weird, So it's like I don't know. I think I made some of the mistakes I made when I was first starting out. So then I had to rewind a little bit and start back over. Yeah. So now we're on the right track for
back
sure. But
track.
it was definitely a little bit stressful in the beginning. So.
Well, and that's the beauty of having experience.
Yeah.
And done something beforehand with this 135 unit project that you had going on. You didn't even know you were making mistakes.
Well,
because, you make the best decisions with what you have at the time, right?
Well, so one thing that happens when you get more units is that you can hire people to take your place. Mm-hmm. And so it was, I guess we had kind of built a team, and we got to a point where there was like stuff, whenever stuff needed to happen, I wasn't necessarily the one who had to do it. And so whenever I started back over, now all of a sudden I'm back in charge. And so I have to figure stuff out, not figure stuff out, but like just go through the motions of actually getting in there and doing it again. So I had to get in and kind of create some new, not new systems, but just kind of get back on track with management.
Well, you want to talk a little bit more specific, because I'm super curious. What were some of the little things that you said that you had gotten off track that you need to tighten up to right the
big
ship?
thing is the hiring process. That was the big thing. So like I had to hire some people to come in and do some rehabs, and we've done 100+ rehabs at this point. Mm-hmm. So mobile home rehabs mostly. So I've done tons of them, and kind of had some good systems in place for that. And instead of following along with those systems, I kind of, hired some people and kind of let them go. Yeah. A little bit too much freedom, which is sort of my default. My default. Yeah. Yeah. In a lot of ways, whenever I hire people, I often give away a little bit too much too early. Yeah. So don't set them up for success. So I have to be careful about that. So I have some systems I put in place to help with that. But in this situation, I didn't quite do that. So I think now I'm going back to that whole system and going through the whole hiring process right now and finding people to come in and rehab these homes. Yeah. And so, we had to kind of get back on the old school way of doing it. Not necessarily old school, but just the stuff that I had been learning over the last couple of years.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? It seems to be the one of those few adages that hold true. So let me ask you this: with you hiring new people and getting kind of started on the wrong foot, can you say that good workers are hard to find? I hear that a lot these days still. Yeah. Right. What's been your experience with that so far?
Good workers are hard to find if you don't know how to find them. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So how many people have you hired and fired already? Because you just closed on this park, right?
I just closed on the park. So what happened was I hired
you and your wife just closed on it.
Yeah, of course. She's always in there.
Yep, always in there. Yep,
keeping it straight.
Yep.
So what happened was I hired somebody at kind of the recommendation of a friend, and they didn't necessarily recommend him. They just said, hey, we know this guy. I don't know if it'll work out or not, but here you go. But instead of going through the whole process that I normally would go through, I just kind of set him loose out there.
Yeah.
And then he hired a whole bunch of people, and then I wound up having to fire all those people, and then wound up having to kind of let him go too. So just the whole process, I just didn't follow my processes. And so that's why you got to stick with it. You got to have good systems, and you got to stick with those systems. You got to execute.
How did you learn those systems the first time? Was it trial and error? Did you seek some coaching and mentoring, or were you just out there on your own? How did you learn
a little bit of all of that?
These systems?
Yeah, a little bit of all of that. So basically, I got to a situation where I was like, I think one of my biggest downfalls as an entrepreneur is I don't really know how to hire. I don't know how to build a high-performing team. So I went out, and that's what I studied for like a full year, just trying to figure out how to do that. And so then I started putting the things that I had learned into place and started doing that, and that helped a lot. So, but with this, for some reason, I just didn't follow through with that way. But I will in the future for sure. So now I'm going through the process of hiring somebody right now. Just going through the whole process that I had learned, and then once we find that person, which we've found some good candidates, but once we find that person, then we'll go through. And hiring people is just like sales for the most part in the beginning. And I think that's where people say it's good help is hard to find. Most of those people don't have any ads out. They're not paying for anything. They don't have a funnel. They're not like for employees for bringing employees in.
Right.
So yeah, if you're not doing any of that stuff, it's going to be hard to find if you're just waiting for people to find you.
Right.
That's definitely going to make it hard. Most of the people who are good, like really solid people who are going to be great employees, they're probably working somewhere else.
Already got a job.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you got to find those people and bring them on most of the time.
That's like one of my favorite things to do was interviewing people and actually hiring people.
Yeah.
And it never fails, man. See the same patterns all the time. And it's so funny. And I kind of look for it because you see it all the time. You kind of know what kind of person you're going to hire. First of all, if they are super available, like when can you start? I can start.
I can start right now.
Yeah, right now.
You got a job. I got my tools.
Yeah, everything.
What tool you got?
Oh, first of all,
I got a hammer.
But here's the thing, though. If they got tools, that's a positive.
That's right.
And so telltale signs that you don't need to hire these people. Number one is if they don't have transportation.
Yeah.
Because here's
you're talking about entry level people at this point.
I'm talking about entry level first, right? Yeah. Because you're going to always have some people that you need to hire for some little things, a little bit more grunt work, because one of the things that you mentioned that I do want to get off into a little bit is high volume, high level, high functioning.
Oh, high performing.
Yeah.
High performing team.
Yeah. And I want to break that down a little bit, but some of my favorite things to do was listening to these people, and without fail, they will always say, I will ask them, so what can you do?
Yeah.
And they would always
everything.
say, I can do everything.
Everybody can do everything.
I can do electrical, plumbing.
If you're talking about construction guys, they can do it all. Everybody.
Yep. And got no tools.
You got your tools with you? No, well, I don't have any tools, but okay.
Well, my favorite thing is they like, hey, so like they start naming landmarks. You
built this.
Yeah. That's my favorite.
That's how my granddad was. We drive around town. I built that. I built that restaurant over there.
Well, you built everything in the city. Yeah. That's so funny. I think what they do is name stuff that's just obscure enough, or stuff that they know you're not going to do the due diligence about. So I would be like, I have no idea. Oh, yeah. I bet all that.
They probably did actually work on it.
Yeah.
For like, sometimes they might walk in, screw in one screw.
Yeah.
And that was all they did. But they built that, though.
What they probably did was work for the temp agency that went over there and cleaned up.
That happens too.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so that's super funny to me. So talk to me a little bit about what you look for in a high-performing employee. What does that mean to you?
So,
because I like the way that sounds.
I think a big part of it is making sure that this person is a cultural fit, making sure that they fit the culture of the company, that they are going to be, they're going to adhere to, I guess, the values of the company. So,
okay,
whenever I first started my first few businesses, we didn't have any like core values. We didn't have that stuff in place. And so a lot of businesses don't have that stuff, or even if they do, it's like it's on the back burner, and they're not really they're not thinking about that. So the first thing I look for when I'm talking to people is this person going to be a cultural fit in my company? Do they have the work ethic we're looking for? Do they have these whatever the core values are, to make sure that they're going to actually fit the culture and represent the business the way that I want them to?
Well, how do you find that out before they work a day for you? Like, how do you check that?
Well, you can ask questions. This is maybe the easiest way right here.
Okay, I'm ready.
Probably the number one thing I'm looking for when I interview somebody the first time. So we have a sort of a 3 interview process, right? Okay. So it's a phone interview first. If it seems like they would be a good fit and they have the skills that we're looking for, then we'll bring them in for an in-person interview.
Okay.
The in-person interview, I'm basically I already kind of know what they can do. I'm going to get a little bit more of their history, but the biggest thing I'm going to do is ask them questions to see if they're going to be a cultural fit. And probably the number one thing I'm looking for is whether or not they talk poorly about their previous employer. That's probably the number one thing. If that happens, they're going to do the same thing. I don't care how good you are to them. They're going to do the same thing. And even when people, good people, whenever they're not being treated great at their previous job or their job they're working now, they won't even say that to you. They'll just say, I don't see a lot of upward mobility. I don't see, I don't have a lot of like room to grow here, something like that. They're not going to just throw their boss under the bus, though.
Bro, you just put a lot of people on by saying that. That's a really good hiring hack right there.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So like you said, if somebody's going to badmouth their ex-employer, they're going to do the same thing for you, or let you know what kind of attitude or mindset they have. I like that. That's good.
One of the big things we're looking for is positivity. Like, are they come in and just complaining about everything, not just their previous job, but just in general? Do they have a lot of complaints? Do they have a lot of excuses? Or do they take ownership of their mistakes? That kind of stuff is the stuff I'm looking for really in that second interview.
Okay. So what about the third interview? And what does the third interview even look like? I can't imagine. I'm trying to.
Well, the third interview is going to be more like, if we're talking about a construction person, I may take them out to the job site. I'm going to ask them more specific questions to see if they really do know what they're talking about, because everybody knows everything.
That's true.
Until you get them out there.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually probably do a working interview at some point with these people, or maybe even after the third interview, or maybe during that third interview, I might say, okay, look, I got a couple of jobs. I want you to come out and let's see what you do. I'm going to see how they interact with tenants if we're going to be on the property. I'm going to see, that kind of stuff. And then we're going to start talking about like numbers and, this stuff. We'll kind of already address that a little bit, but like we'll start talking a little bit more to see if this is going to be something that even makes sense for everybody at this point. Usually I would say 90% of people or more, we weed out in the first phone call or the first in-person interview. And then by the time they get to that third interview, these are maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people who are like, any of them would be a good fit. Let's just see if we can pick one that's going to be the better fit than the others.
Okay.
So, right now I'm hiring for a maintenance supervisor position. Okay. Another thing that I learned we can talk about is that you want to try to hire from the top down and not the bottom up.
What does that mean?
So most of the time what happens is an entrepreneur, or let's say a real estate investor who buys some property, they come in, they're going to manage property, whatever. They may be doing all the work themselves. They may be out doing the maintenance. This happens a lot. Or if it's like a service-based business, they may be out actually like hammering the nails, doing whatever it is.
Okay.
The first hire they're going to make probably is a helper, somebody to come help them, right? Come help them do the job. Then they're going to have to move out into other roles. And then this person who is not actually a great fit in the first place, or didn't have the skills that they needed, is going to have to take a little bit more responsibility, and they're going to have to go to probably past what they're capable of. And then it's going to become harder and harder and harder. And they're going to wind up having some resentment, and all of this stuff is going to blow up eventually. So the thing that you should do really, I think, is hire from the top down.
Okay.
Hire the people who are going to be the leaders in the company first, and then let them go out and build their teams. So that's what I'm trying to do right now with the maintenance program, with the maintenance team. We had a pretty decent maintenance team before, but we're gonna try to. Those guys went with the sale when we sold the property, and so we're now trying to build our team again. So we're trying to find that head person who's going to come in. Right now, that person may be doing most of or all of the work themselves. They're going to be overseeing the contractors who are coming in to rehab these properties.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually that person's going to build out his or her own team.
Yeah.
So we want to find the person who can go out and do that. So we don't want to just hire a helper who's going to come in, doesn't have a lot of skills, and they may be a hard worker, but they're not going to bring a lot of value from a leadership perspective.
Yeah.
I want to hire that person who, if I can, who's going to be a leader, and then we're going to let them build their team themselves.
That really does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you said that ended up being 2, 3, maybe 4 people, and you picked the top dog out of those right there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with these other guys that were probably just as good, but you didn't hire? Do you keep them in the Rolodex and or what do you?
Yeah.
You try to build a team and call them back when you're trying to build a team, or are they more suited to be like? What do you do with these people, these surplus of people that you could hire?
Well, it depends. If they would be a better fit in a helping that's not the right term, but in a different role other than the leadership role, then maybe they may be another part of the team that comes on later. Or, sometimes you got to go through a few people to find the right one.
And that's what I was about to ask you, man. Because it seems like anybody, if they can get through the third portion of the process, they can talk the right game.
Mm-hmm.
They got a truck, they got tools, they got the vernacular, they might, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they can still sift through the cracks.
That happens a lot. That happened to me with a property manager one time.
Yeah.
And that person came through and he was like,
"You talking about me?" Right?
No, no, that was different. But this guy was seemed like a really good fit.
Yeah.
But looking back, there were some red flags that I didn't really realize at the time. But then we hired him, and it was within a day or two, I was like, this ain't gonna work out.
No way! Wow.
So because he became a different person, he was a good talker. So when we were in interviews, everything he said was good. It was the right, right stuff. But then once it actually got into actually doing the job, it was very obvious very quickly that wasn't the right fit. So we just went ahead and let him go. I think he lasted 3 or 4 days, and then we went to the next person. But sometimes it might take a couple months. It might take a while. I don't know. But I listened. Actually, Layla Hormozy posted a video recently about this. I saw it was a short. It was about women who complain that there's no good men out there, and she's like, well, how many dates have you gone on? I'm like, well, I've been on 2 this year. And she's like, well, there's your problem. You might have to go on 1,000 before you find the right one. Or you might be spending too much time with the wrong one.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in business. You might go through and this person might seem great, and then it becomes obvious that they're not the right fit. And then and it costs a lot of money. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort to go through. So you want to try to make your hiring process as good as possible for sure. But at the end of the day, you're not always going to pick the right one. So you just have to, you got to make sure that you are willing to move on and find the right person if that's not the right person. Because if you keep the wrong person on, then you wind up with the wrong culture, and it's very difficult to change the culture of a company after you have, let it go in the wrong direction. So
it's incredible how easy it is to spread bad, how much easier it is to spread bad rather than good.
That's right.
I think a very underrated skill set, I don't know if skill set or just a tool that an entrepreneur, a business owner, landlord needs to have is firing people, right? Because with me, when I was managing, when I was a property manager, people that know me, not a lot of y'all know me at all, right? I am kind-hearted. I see the best in people. I'm harmonious, right? Yeah. All that stuff.
Not always the best traits of a property manager, although all those are good traits for property management. You also have to be, stern's not the right word, but maybe it is.
You have to be direct, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was, I remember, Keith, you were eating with your business partner one day. We was all eating lunch, having a great time, and we had hired on these 30, 40 guys for this big project we were doing. And we had ended the lunch. I think you had even paid for it. I'm feeling real good, right? Like, let's go. And I think we might have been at Sybil's or something like that. I don't know. Who knows?
I think we're at Western Sizzling, actually.
Probably, yeah.
But, that's high end over there.
Western Sizzling?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Listen, remember the one in Adel? Was that a Western Sizzling also? Yeah, that was good stuff. So right before y'all left, y'all was like, all right, man, have a good day. Good luck with everything. And oh yeah, I need you to fire everybody. Like what?
I think we kept Terry.
Yeah,
we kept
just a mobile home store. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The reason why that was a problem was because I had never fired anybody really in my life. I had never evicted anybody really in my life.
Yeah.
So, but I know on Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful, what's his real name? You know his real name?
Kevin O'Leary, I think.
Kevin O'Leary, yeah. He says having the wrong person on your team is the worst thing that you can do.
Yeah.
So, but it's a very, it's a very necessary thing. Sometimes you have to get rid of people for the sake of the asset, right? And what got me more comfortable, what eased my woes with evicting people was saying that if they don't pay their bills, I can't pay mine, right?
Yeah.
So I had to change my mindset and understand that it's just firing people and evicting people when necessary is just as important as hiring or collecting written stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Also, you have to think about this. If you're an employer and you have the wrong person on your team, it means they're not a good fit for your company, but your company is also probably not a good fit for their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so resentment starts to build up. At the end of the day, the best thing you can do is let them go. Find a better, a better fit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be better for you and for them if you just go ahead and let it happen.
Yeah, you sound like a parent, bro. Like, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you type of thing. Hold on real quick. I got to tell y'all this quick story about Keith. The most savage thing ever. This dude, so this is how I learned how to fire people.
This is not. I wouldn't say this is the way to model it.
It's not, but it was phenomenal, right? So this dude, I don't remember the whole story. I'm just gonna paraphrase it, unless you want to tell the story because you know what I'm about to say.
I can tell it.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
So, okay, we had a guy who was on staff, and he was a construction guy, maintenance person.
He had a family, a newborn, a wife.
He had a whole. They were our turn crew, is what it was. He had started out by himself. He was like mostly a painter, like a finished person, a painter, little bit of carpentry, yeah, like finished stuff. And so, these guys came on and they did our turns for us. So anytime we had a turn, they would come in, paint the unit, do the flooring, whatever it was. Most of the time when you're turning a unit, a lot of times it's paint and flooring, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So they were doing most of that kind of stuff for us. And they were doing like pressure washing and that kind of stuff. And they were doing a good job. This is what was hard about it. They were actually good, but they were the wrong cultural fit because they were constantly complaining, constantly negative. And it got to the point where it was just like a cancer in the company. It was like, I didn't want to be around him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of similar to what happened with this guy I just had to let go recently. Like really skilled, but not the right fit for the company. So anyway, the guy came in, and typically, I may have told this story on the podcast. I don't even remember, but
it's worth it. Say it again.
I'm not saying it's the right way to do it. Okay. I'm not saying I would do it now, but this is what I did at the time. He came in and I was like, listen, man, I got to let you go. He's like, what's going on? I was like, man, it's just, it's not a good fit. It's not working out, whatever. And I'm always try to be really clear, like really concise with it. And like, I don't usually go into it and get in arguments with people and stuff like that.
Because it's a no fault state.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It is. And also it's like nothing good can come out of that at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You might have some constructive criticism for people, but most of the time they're not going to take it in that situation very well. So anyway, I was just like, look, man, sorry, we got to move on. It's just not working out. And he's like, well, what's going on? I was like, I told him like, it's just not a good fit. I just think it's best for us for everybody if we can move on.
Mm-hmm.
And he just like kept asking, like, what did I do? What's going on? What is it? And finally I was like, look, man, it's not business, it's personal. I just like, I can't handle all the complaining, like the negativity. Like we can't have it in our company. So, you did good work. Like it was all great. I just wish I didn't have to listen to all the complaining.
Dang. You know what? But here's the thing, though. You were consistent because, and the reason why I wanted you to go through that story again is because something that you've been talking about from the beginning of this episode all the way up until this point is the culture.
Yeah.
Right. And I found with people that I've hired, doing construction, remodeling, and things like that, I would rather take someone who has the DNA is closer to what I want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
The culture, the mindset, the work ethic, all that stuff. I would rather have the mindset and the culture over the skill set, because I can always train someone or have someone train them. They can always get better, right? But like you said, there's nothing that can kill a company or the morale of a group more than a bad attitude, than a bad culture, than someone that just doesn't care about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's ways of doing that without discriminating, right? And it's necessary. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I go to, let's say, McDonald's, because everybody has had a story at least I can say this, McDonald's late night, and I get up to the window to try to order me like a double cheeseburger and fries and a McFlurry. First of all, the McFlurry machine is gonna be down.
True.
But
well, it might not actually be down.
They just don't, which I don't. All you gotta do is pull the lever, and either they say, sorry, we're down, our system is down, and it's 9 o'clock. I'm like, it's not down. Y'all just don't want to work. And then they're talking, laughing, playing cards and stuff, or it just takes forever. And I walk in there, I'm looking at y'all, I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like, but so that whole attitude and that whole culture, when I see everybody being non-compliant, it started with one bad apple and matriculated through the whole company. And now everybody's like, oh, yeah, we ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, or right? If it came from one bad apple, it came from one bad leader, one bad manager. Yeah. And then that culture spread down from there. Because the culture, it comes from the top at the end of the day. And so, you got one manager who's not, representing the company well, and then everybody else is going to follow that most of the time.
And that's why it's important to see that stuff.
But if they don't follow it, then they're going to leave because they don't want to be around it. And those are the people that you want to keep. So you got a bad manager who brings that culture in. The people who are good are going to leave, and then he's going to hire people like him, or she's going to hire people like her. And then
seen it too many times. Yeah, man. Ain't got no time for that. Right there. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. So don't tolerate. And I've had to do that plenty of times, and it's never fun. And that's one thing I want to really get out there is, I don't think anyone takes joy other than you when you fire that guy in firing people. I'll just play. I'm sorry. I say that in jest. I don't think anyone because at the end of the day, these are real people. They have families and situations. But like you said, which is a very strong point, is sometimes this company is just not a good fit for them. So you'll be doing them better by just letting them go and find something
else.
They're
going to be happier somewhere else anyway.
It's at the end of the day, it's a relationship. It's like, it's not working with us. Go find somebody that's better suited for you.
That's exactly right.
It's the same thing.
It's a good analogy. Yeah. Same thing Layla was saying.
Yeah. So are you still hiring? Because I know that's one of your things is always be hiring.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so it's my next step. Then, since you're still hiring. So let's just say that this guy that you're looking at hiring now, right? You said you got a new guy you're looking at?
Yeah, we have one who's kind of head and shoulders above everybody else at the moment. We still taking applications for that position, but
So do you ever stop taking applications?
That's a really good question. So I would definitely stop advertising at some point for that single position, unless I have multiples. If we have a really good fit, but you always I'm always taking applications, always. So like we may not be spending money on ads for that position if it's filled, but like if somebody else comes along, I'm gonna always talk to them, and we'll see what happens at the end of the day. But I mean, there's definitely something to be said for loyalty to people who are really good. Like, you're not going to replace an A player with another A player just because.
Right. A lateral move,
Right, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But if you have a B player in there and you get an A player who comes along, then you're going to replace that person, right? So the best thing you can do if you're an employee, if you're trying to get a job, is come in and be an A player, and then you're irreplaceable at that point almost, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can still replace them, but it's different for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Now, so this part that you just bought right here has like 20 plus, give or take.
26. Yeah.
26
lots.
Is this a position that you're hiring somebody full time at?
Yeah, it is, and it's not necessary right now, but we're going to be buying a lot more.
Okay, so you hire him in preparation, get him in place.
Yeah,
now.
We can afford to do it, and it's it's not going to kill the deal, but we're probably going to wind up building at least 20 or 30 more on that in that park.
Okay,
and they might wind up being duplexes or something different, but or apartments. But we're definitely going to be doing that, and then we're going to be buying more multifamily properties along the way too. So we're trying to find somebody who can grow with the company, who can maintain that leadership role, start hiring people underneath him,
A player
or her. Yeah.
So that's awesome. Having a plan and everything and moving from that point. Now, are you also hiring somebody like a maintenance, a management person, somebody handle all the in-house things as well?
Yeah, I have somebody who's kind of taking on a role similar to what I did when I started. So he's going to kind of coming in right now, helping out with management, but probably moving into more of a partner role.
Oh, cool.
Eventually. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, and the reason I want to touch on this also is because I just want to touch on how important it is for you to know where you need to be, where you're trying to go, what your numbers are, because in this case, you have 26 units right now, 26 doors.
Yeah.
And normally it would not make sense to hire someone full-time to do maintenance for a park that size.
Correct.
But what you just said was it's not going to kill the deal. We have enough margin to make this work, and we also have a plan to grow bigger where it will make sense.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
So
if we were just sticking with 26, I would not hire a full-time person.
So what would you do in that situation?
Maybe, it really depends though, because often one of the best, probably the best thing to do in that situation is find somebody in the park who can handle stuff like that, or in the community, in the apartment complex, whatever. These are, we're saying mobile home parks, but these are park-owned homes that's really run just like an apartment complex.
Right.
So, and we have no interest really in converting them to the typical tenant-owned home lot rent situation for a lot of reasons. But anyway, so if you have 26 units, if you have 26 houses, which is kind of what it is, these rent for $1,300 to $1,500 a piece. So it's kind of, and they're on half-acre lots. It's kind of like having a community, really.
That's better than most neighborhoods.
Yeah,
like regular house.
I mean, they're nice houses, all that stuff. So like, there's enough there to hire a full-time person. It makes sense, and it's probably actually going to save us money because the people that we're hiring right now are contractors, and they're a lot higher. So like, if we had a thermostat go out the other day. Thermostat's pretty easy to replace. A typical maintenance guy is going to go in there. It's going to take them 10 minutes, and thermostat costs $30, $40 or something. And we have them at our store. We get them wholesale, so we get them cheap.
Oh, nice.
But instead, I had to pay like $150 to an AC company to go out there and replace it, right? So if you add that up and you say, okay, well, we got like, the guy had to let go, ran over a mailbox. So like, it's a 10, 15-minute job to put the mailbox back up, right? So like, if I'm paying somebody who's on staff to do it, it's going to cost me, not much at all.
Right.
But if I hire a contractor to come in, he doesn't want to do that job. He's going to charge me $400 probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, at the end of the day, there's probably enough work right now, probably that I'll save money actually bringing on a full-time person who's getting paid well. But it's a lot cheaper than having to hire outside contractors to come in, and take care of that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
man, I love that. You have to know your numbers. You have to know where you're going, so you know how much wiggle room, how you can pivot, and how to really play the game. Because every situation is different. There's no cookie cutter situation. Right. Okay, so with your high performing employees, how close are you to them? How much do you invest in their personal lives? Is that a thing, or do you just keep it strictly business?
This is a good question, D.
Okay, well, let's see if you got a good
answer. No, so I think that the more you can be a coach to them, the better that their relationship's going to be, the better they're going to be, and the people who you want on your team are the people who want to be coached like that. So, I'm probably going to spend 6 figures on coaching this year.
Okay,
probably already have. Actually,
it's April.
Close to that. So,
she's got a glare from the wife. This ping mother.
She gets those calls after it's happened.
Oh gosh, what they say is better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Well, we have an understanding.
Okay,
she's supportive.
Okay, we'll talk about that on Therapy Thursdays. Yeah. So I'll tune in for that.
So anyway, yeah. So people
How close are you? Yeah.
The people who want to move forward, the people who you want on your team are people who want to be coached. Like people who are successful. We were just talking about this recently. Like the people who are really successful are paying 6 figures for one coach.
That's right. Yeah.
For maybe in 1 hour of one coach. Like you're gonna pay $50,000 to $100,000 for an hour of a high level coach's time.
Yeah, good point.
And the people who are paying for that are people who are already making millions of dollars. They're already successful. But those are the people who are going to pay the most for a coach to come help them. So I think it's very important to think that way, and people who are starting out, who are coming through the system, coming through your system as, on your team as an employee, they want to get better. The ones who are good want to get better. That's one of the things that you want to see when you're interviewing people, when you're talking to people. Mm-hmm. Are they putting time and effort into making themselves better? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think you want to be very involved. So we have a system that that we've put in place now that's basically a coaching program. So we have them set goals when they come in, and then we meet with them every 2 weeks, and then once a quarter we create a development plan, mm-hmm. and we go through that plan with them, and then we re-up their short-term goals. Once a year they re-up their 1 year goals, and then they have a 10-year vision plan that they do.
So you're investing a lot more than money. Like, you're investing your time into these people.
Yeah, that's the goal. The goal is to have people who want to grow like that.
So you have to really find someone that's worth doing that for. So that's why, okay. Well, let me ask you this. On the other side of that, are you ever afraid that they're going to outgrow you? Like, they're going to actually start performing and doing great, and next thing you know, they got all this money saved up. They have their own investments, and they're making passive income as well as what you're doing. And they just mm-hmm. like, hey, I'm ready to move on type of thing. What happens with that?
So that's an interesting question, because I used to be really scared about that stuff. And I think a lot of people are. I think a lot of employers, they don't want to give away the farm, so to speak. Mm-hmm. They don't want to give all their secrets away, mm-hmm. because they're afraid that this person's going to go and become a competitor or go and do something else. They're going to lose a good person. The first real business that I had in the personal training space, the woman who pretty much ran the company, she was like pretty much the CEO, really, of that company. She left at one point. She pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, I'm starting my own gym. Just want to let you know. I'm gonna give you notice, but we're gonna go out. We got this property. We want to start our own gym." Dang. And it was in the town, but it was not really a direct competitor for what we were doing, but it was. It was definitely something that was kind of painful, because she at that point was running the entire company. And so I had to come in and redo that, kind of start over again, basically. Mm-hmm. So, that definitely can happen. And I think really that's kind of what you want. I think I learned this from Gary Vee, actually. He talks a lot about maybe up front, you see in their 10-year vision that they want to start this business, they want to do this, they want to learn this job, whatever. When you came in with us, mm-hmm. You basically told me right away, hey, I'm probably going to be here for about a year, and then I'm going to go start doing this for myself. And I was like, okay, cool. So at least at that point, I got this person probably for a couple of years, and then they're probably going to move on. But I'm going to get a couple of good years, and I'm going to help somebody, get on their way to doing what they're supposed to do. So I think if you approach it with an abundance mindset, mm-hmm. and there's enough out there for everybody, you're not really competing against those people. Maybe you do wind up competing against them, but at the end of the day, if they go out and start their own company, or they go out and achieve their goals, that's mm-hmm. a positive thing for everybody at the end of the day. And they're probably going to give you a whole lot more while they're there. And to be honest with you, you got 2 years of somebody like that, it's going to be way better than 10 years of somebody who's never going to get to that point.
Who's mediocre, and we know we like to defy the laws of mediocrity here. So.
That's right.
That's cool, man. All right, well, that's something I think you have to be. I think there are a lot of traits that you have to embody in order to be called a good leader, a good boss. Yeah. Right? Just because you write in people's checks doesn't make you a good leader. Just because you had a part to play in making kids doesn't make you a good father. Right? Just because you have a wife that make you a good husband. And that's one of the things I talked about on another episode was I think you have to earn the title to be called a man. Right? So you don't ever hear a woman say, yeah, that's my boy over there. Me and my boy, we're gonna do all it. No, they don't. It say that's my man, right? Right. And what makes you a man is being. I think it's being mature, being responsible, mm-hmm. Not making excuses, taking care of business and all that stuff like that. Yeah. So the same thing with the boss. With I think you have to be mature in who you are. Mm-hmm. I think you have to be a visionary. I think you have to be a servant to some. I was talking to somebody the other day. And they said, it might have been Gary Vee again. Yeah, I think I was listening to one of his things. He said, you always want to make sure that people know that you get in the trenches with them, type of thing. Yeah. You won't ever ask them to do anything that you haven't done or wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Right?
I have a story about this.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Like the here it go. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Let's go. In living color.
In living color.
Right?
Okay. Anyway, for those of you who are under 40, this is a story
of a lovely
all about
lady.
my life got flipped turned. No. What?
Oh, I thought we'd go
Different.
way back.
No.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, okay. So yeah, when I was in the personal training space, I had this young kid who was really good at sales. He had the right mindset, really good. I made him a manager of one of the gyms, which in what I was doing means that he was a salesperson and he was kind of over the trainers, right? So he was selling personal training and he was managing the trainers who were actually fulfilling that service.
He came out the gates doing that stuff?
Yeah, he might have been a trainer for like a little while, but it was pretty obvious that he was a salesperson.
Start small time.
No, he
okay.
He skipped that. He went straight to selling all that dope. So maybe that was before. Anyway,
okay.
No, he.
My bad, man. I didn't mean to throw you off. So he had he had potential.
Yeah, he was very good. Yeah, we knew right away what was going on. So
yeah,
I took him over to a new gym that I had just gotten a contract with to run their personal training. Took him over there and I was teaching him the system, teaching him how to sell, how to go out. And he was already better than me at sales. I was not that good at sales at the time. I think that was probably back in the time when I thought sales was something you naturally had. I don't believe that anymore. But I think, anyway, I was like, this is a natural salesperson. I need to get him on the floor as soon as possible. So we got out on the floor one day and we were just like pulling people off the floor, doing floor pulls is what we called it. So basically you go out, find somebody working out, offer them a suggestion or just maybe strike up a conversation, whatever. Okay. Figure out how you can help that person. And then you can try to sell them into a consultation, which is when you try to sell them into training.
Okay.
So this happens if you go to a big gym. Somebody's going to probably come up and talk to you. Hey, man, how long you been doing this?
You get in trouble for doing that now.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I don't know how it is post-COVID.
It's wild, bro.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah, floor pulling. Okay.
Yeah, he was talking to somebody. I was telling him, like, hey, go talk to this person. And while we were walking around, I saw a lady working out. I had seen her in there a few times. I went over and just talked to her like, hey, how you doing? And talked to her about exercise a little bit. And I was like, we're hiring for trainers. Are you interested? And so it was like kind of a pull for an employee, which I was totally comfortable with. And I didn't realize it was just sales is the same exact thing. But anyway, so he was like, man, that was cool.
Interesting.
Show me how you would do it for a client. I was like, nah, man, you're already better at sales than me. Like, I'm going to ruin this prospect if I go talk to him. You go talk to him. And so, like, I remember him like, nah, man, I want to see you do it one time. And I was like, I'm going to ruin it. I'm not good at it. I don't want to ruin it. So just go get, So I like tell him I'll tell you how to do it, but you do it, And I think I could tell he lost a little bit of respect right there. Like, I'm asking him to do something that I'm not willing to do.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So that was a lesson looking back on that situation now. I'm like, man, I wish I had just gone out there and done it, because even if I failed at it, maybe it was a bad example.
Yeah.
At least he would have shown that making the effort to go out and do it, then I'm not asking him to do something that I wouldn't do.
Absolutely, man. I'll never forget we had this coach that would do drills, and every now and again one of the kids would be like, man, coach, you ain't out here doing it with us. Tucked his whistle in his shirt. All right, let's go. Up, down. See what I'm saying? Sea walk. But anyway, yeah, so that's a good story though. And that kind of hurt a little bit, didn't it?
Oh, it definitely did.
Woo, yeah. So since then, like, I've seen you in the trailers, laying floors, doing all that stuff,
It's funny because one time I thought about that too. We had a trailer this person moved out of. So we were about to acquire this property, and the previous owner did not take care of the property at all. It was the worst property in town. Like, they called it the drug park. Right. It was the worst one.
Right.
So she actually moved in this couple right before we closed. They were drug addicts. They were paying like $300 a month for this trailer, like for a house,
Yeah.
And so anyway, after we closed, wound up having to evict these people. And went over there, and it was nasty. Like, this place was nasty. She had rented to them as is already.
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, listen, this place is nasty. If you want it, you clean it, you do the repairs, and I'll charge you $300, and you go and stay there. And they were like, fine. Well, this is something that you should never do.
Yeah.
I have never seen it turn out well.
Okay.
don't do this if you're a landlord. Just go and make the repairs and do it the right way and get a good tenant. Because the people who say that and they're moving into a situation like that, they are not going to be good tenants. I've never seen one. They may be out there, but I've never seen them. They're unicorns. So anyway, these people, the place was already gross. It already had big holes the size of this table in the floor.
No way.
Where you had to walk across the joists to get. I mean, it was bad.
Wow.
But they had like dirty needles everywhere from where they were using drugs.
Golly.
They had been breeding puppies in the closet that nobody knew about, and they left some of the puppies there to die when they left.
Golly.
And so by the time we got in there, there was like dead animals, and I mean it was bad. It was really, and they had just been letting them use the bathroom all over the place. Anyway, it was nasty in there. It was carpet. So I went in there with the maintenance guy, and he was like, I'm not messing with this. You're gonna have to burn this place down. Like, I'm not messing with it. I was like, I'll clean it. So I went and got some gloves.
Yeah.
And went in there, got a mask, and started ripping carpet out.
Got in the trenches.
Yep.
I see.
About 4 hours later, I had all the carpet ripped out, and I was tearing stuff up. And he came over there. He's like, man, you need some help.
Hey.
And I was like, yeah, man, you want to help me pick some of this stuff up? So
yeah.
He started helping me, and we got it all cleaned out. But I think that was like that was like my redemption from that first story.
Yeah. Somewhere a young salesman shed a tear. Have you heard that story? Right. You do that. Cool, man. Well, I got some really good nuggets out of that today. Yeah. That was really good. I think it's gonna be really helpful for a lot of you guys that are young investors, young entrepreneurs, whether you have a business, whether you have real estate investment, whether you have a food truck. It doesn't matter what it is. Some of these principles that he's going through, that I've gone through, translate to everything. Even if you're a mother and a father in the household, right? You can't really fire your kids, but
no, you probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen there. I'm not condoning that.
You might have to kick them out sometimes. Kick them out of into the yard. I told my son this one time. He was he was probably 4 or 5. He was probably 5, and we were
okay.
I was at my parents' house, and I was like, "Boy, get out of here don't come back until the street lights come on." And he was like, "What are street lights?"
Oh gosh.
It was funny.
That was
awesome.
A joke. Yeah. Did he laugh?
No, he didn't understand that at all.
Oh gosh.
I was like, you see that light in the yard over there? That's what used to happen when we were kids.
I know. I remember.
Lock the door. Don't come back till the street lights come on.
Bro, let me tell you what I did the other day. It felt so good. It was instant nostalgia. I was doing some manual labor at somebody's house, and I turned on I turned on the spigot, and I was so hot and so thirsty. I didn't have a drink with me. I turned the spigot and I got my hands underneath like this. You know how you get oh, bro, it was so good. I don't know why water out of your hand is so good. It was
because of the situation you're in when you do that.
Probably. It's like, man, I'm going to drink this and die. You know, it was it's so refreshing. Anyway, man, it's like my life is in my hands. That's all I got left, you know. Drink it in.
There it is.
Cool, man. Well, appreciate you opening up again. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you got some nuggets. Once again, this is the Defiant Life Podcast. Now go out there and don't be average. I don't know if that really works, but